Okay, everyone, welcome to the gaming panel. First of all, a quick show of hands. Who has played a blockchain game? Ever? All right. Who owns an NFT? Woo! Okay. So we talk about NFTs and gaming today. This will be a conversation with some experts, self-claimed experts in the space. So myself, just introduce myself first. My name is Michael. I'm based in Tokyo. I work at a blockchain game called My Crypto Heroes. We're a game on, thank you. We're a game on Ethereum. We use NFTs as heroes and as weapons, and we also have land in the game. We've been live for about 1.5 years, and yeah, have been pretty high on the dev radar ratings and also on OpenSea. And have some good learnings over the last 1.5 years, so happy to share this here. Yeah, I'm just gonna go around, introduce everyone, and also what they're working on, and why NFTs.
Hi everyone, I'm Pei, and I work at Consensus, which is one of the biggest blockchain companies in the space. We currently have twofold of business, one being Consensus Ventures. We invest in a portfolio about 100 companies in different use cases, and the other side of business for us is softwares. So under the software hood, we have the full tech stack that is being built to support different companies and support different projects in the ecosystem. So at the bottom is the public and private blockchain, and then going all the way up. At the top, we have different use cases, including one of them being payments. So that's where I came in. I'm responsible for helping our financial products to go to market, finding the strategic partners to work with. I work with a lot of gaming companies around specifically payments. So that's kind of like where I came into this panel. I think it's not just about on-ramp, off-ramp, and getting fiat onto a platform to purchase the NFTs, but we'll also think about introducing different tokens, multi-token economy perhaps, and how to create a marketplace that is suitable for NFTs and gaming virtual goods, as well as how you enable the owners of those NFTs to actually then monetize and offboard to go to other platforms. So there's an aspect of cross-platform experience as well. I just think that we have a lot of building blocks that needs to be provided to this ecosystem. So prior to Consensus, I worked at one of the investment banks for close to 1 decade. So that's how I got my hands dirty on the financial infrastructure and financial products. So passing on to you.
Hi, I'm Marguerite, deCourcelle. I'm CEO of Blockade Games. Our main title you might have heard us working on is called Neon District. It's a cyberpunk RPG. Blockade is situating itself to be basically a major player in the future of gaming in the open ecosystem, which we really believe heavily in is the future. I think that's it in a nutshell.
Hi everyone, my name is Kieltyka. I'm the CEO of Horizon Blockchain Games, and we're building a video game called Skyweaver. It's a multiplayer worldwide competitive game. It's a trading card game where we have 500 assets, ERC 1155s on the Ethereum network, with some really interesting community-oriented economics where players can play a free game and actually acquire cards that are minted on the chain on a weekly competitive leaderboard where they, of course, can resell on an open market. Obviously, we're very early in thinking around the tokenization of assets back in 2017. We built a lot of core infrastructure to productize the chain and make it really usable and simple for the average gamer, not really focusing on the people who are already crypto savvy. So we instrumented that whole the game, and some really interesting play-to-earn mechanisms. So again, the card system, and it's a really fun game. We in fact have a tournament going on probably in about 10 minutes upstairs where there is a 1,000 die prize pool as well. So definitely come try out the game. And the game is available on Rinkeby in private beta for the last couple of months since June of 2018. And we'll be launching in a few more months on mainnet, which is really exciting to really test our economy design. People are loving the game, and we're really pleased with that. And really, just excited to be part of the community and contribute.
That's cool. My name is Preston. I am the founder of Block Cities. It's a place where you can build tiny digital cities with collectible buildings. So last year we released on-chain generated buildings. People have collected over 2,000 unique buildings, creating them themselves, collecting them from events. And soon we are building user cities so they can use their own buildings in their cities and building some more game elements onto that.
All right, so now that everyone is introduced, just Peter, Peter, one question. The mic should be a little higher, so some people said they couldn't hear it, so like a little like this. Okay, so the first question I want to ask is why NFTs in gaming and how does it help the gameplay overall? So how did you get started? Why did you decide to build an NFT-focused game company compared to a traditional game company? And for Pei, for example, why did you decide to research in NFTs and what excites you? You can just, like the order doesn't matter.
I think when I saw CryptoKitties, that was the moment that I realized that this is going to be a major shift. And cats are really cool, but not my particular interest. So I really was drawn to cities and buildings and knew that I had to work on a game or something that introduced the same things that CryptoKitties did with NFTs, but around urbanism and architecture.
Yeah, for me, my background is doing open source infrastructure development. I was a CTO, from my last prior companies, and so blockchain really attracted me as kind of a next really core piece of infrastructure that had a lot of truth in the distributed nature of it, in the cryptography and the economics that secured the network. Understanding like we now have a new cryptocurrency digital asset, but of course, I'm also a gamer, and I had recognized, well, the original digital asset came from video games that people have been, there's a massive market. So for me, I was really inspired in pursuing my next company and project, which of course was very just initially started as an artistic pursuit, was before we said things as NFTs, it was just the idea of what happens when we actually now have an open standard for representing in open ecosystems around the tokenization of assets. So if the items are the currency was kind of the core thesis that we had back then. The card game felt very natural because it comes from the physical world where it is, and you can collect it and trade it. It was a really appropriate first game that we thought would fit, and it was interesting other people in the community had converged on a similar idea. And we're just really inspired to, again, figure it out and just kind of, as adventurers, we like to say, just kind of explore the space, in the design space, what new, how can we bring a product from this space, and what are the benefits that we can leverage that are new properties, that are novel features in the ecosystem now that we have, of course, an open economy, and what does that mean? And so that's why we've explored this title and focused specifically on, from a protocol to all the way to the very top of wallets and marketplaces and so forth to make it so that it's extremely simple for even a 13-year-old to use. And in fact, there are many kids who in fact play our video game, which is pretty cool, and they can figure it out.
Actually, I would say, Peter, our companies kind of have similar spirit about. We really get a lot of energy from seeing creatives in the space and developers in the space create value and monetize their work in a new way that is only recently available. So it's a whole new model for, the ICO was kind of a model for these startups to fundraise. Well, I like to think of NFTs as a new model where creatives and developers and people who are producers can capture value of their work. But as a game company, I think of NFTs as it's like the first time you've ever had a durable digital good attached with a memory that when you walk it through a game or crafting or leveling, you're capturing all of that experience, and then that is tradable, or it's valuable just for sentimental reasons, or which influencer touched it, or what kind of tournament, e-gaming tournament it was involved in. There are so many potential paths, not just for monetization, but for community, for social engagement, for having lifetime value in an ecosystem across all these different assets. So the potential for NFTs, we're just starting to play with, and I'm really excited to participate. So I guess our draw as a game company was we brought in creatives and blockchain devs that had that same shared vision, and we were lucky to be able to be a driver in it.
Yeah, I think you guys covered it pretty well. So I think just on a grand scheme of things, it's we see the world going through a convergence of different assets and different blurring the lines between digital and physical assets. And NFTs especially exciting for us because as for myself, I came from a traditional finance background. So I first approached NFTs simply viewing it as a new asset class. And then the asset class is growing day, by minutes, because the gaming industry is now above $150 billion around the globe. And a lot of that value that's currently locked within gaming platforms now can be unlocked through the form of NFTs and NFT-based marketplaces. So this is really exciting, just not from, I think it's great for platforms to engage their users better, artists better, so give them a monetization channel, but also from like a larger, take one step back, you also now think the traditional platforms and average Joe consumer and investors can have the reach and access to a previously kind of exotic type of asset by just tapping into a platform that enables NFTs come in. So even like the traditional platforms, trading platforms are excited to looking into the possibility of embracing NFTs into their platform and through different kind of play. Maybe it's a payments, and maybe it's just a consumer dashboard, or maybe it's just digital wallet that can have NFTs in it, and as well as other normal stocks, equities, and physical assets. So it's really, I think it's really exciting for the gaming community, but it's like much larger than that.
Yeah, so I like what you guys said about an open source movement in gaming and building a standard for items and a standard for wallets. I mean, that's basically the idea of decentralization and standardization, that we can all tap into pre-built infrastructure that also fosters engagement between games and between communities especially. I want to go back to that in a second. One question first, just like a short answer. What are NFTs? Are they an asset class to invest, or are they consumption and just entertainment?
Yes. I think it's all about framing for each particular NFT project. When we started Block Cities, we did not have a game, and so we were very particular about branding them as collectibles and not as an in-game asset that you will eventually be able to use within a game. Of course, we mentioned that we are building a game. We wanted to make it fun on day one, where it was a collectible building that you didn't have to use in a game to enjoy. So I think it's how you frame it. I think people view it how they want to view it. Some people put a lot of money into these NFTs. People invest thousands, millions of dollars into different NFTs. And of course, they want a return on that. Other people will buy and collect things that they just like. And maybe there's an investment tied to that, but it depends on the user what is driving that, if it's an investment or if it's just something that they like and want to collect.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's essentially just a digital good, something that you can, with real ownership. So what fascinates me about blockchain is that it's kind of a self-resilient system, and you can now have what we'd like to say is almost this intersection of digital and physical worlds, and having something that's digital but can have, physical world-like properties such as, exchange and trade and ownership. And so specifically, I wouldn't call it an investment by any means, none any more than like my computer would be an investment, or my car is an investment, or my shoes, or whatever you like. It's just a good. And I think, you do that because you want it, you need it, you want to show it off, you want to play with it, whatever, you want to gift it, whatever kind of the mechanic may be. But I think that's what's really compelling about it.
I think like how you were talking about the Block Cities sale of the assets. So I kind of envision a future where, be it Neon District or some other game, that can act as a platform for, let's say, you're a game dev, you want to launch a game, you don't have the game built yet, but you're going to sell this asset. It's going to be immediately playable in Neon District, but it has this other like promise of a second utility, potentially second utility in the future. And so I think soon, when enough of these games are live and there's enough platforms, we're going to be able to see people not have to necessarily worry about that. Is it a game asset, or is this okay for me to sell these things right now? And it to almost have like a Kickstarter approach. I don't think we're far away from that model.
Yeah. So when you think about platforms, and we say if someone is in the NFT space and the blockchain gaming space, and then we can all move freely around ecosystems and games and communities. We talk about collaborations in a second. How do you get people into the whole world of NFTs and crypto in the first place if they're not crypto native? So, I mean, I know that, especially Skyweaver, Neon District, you aim for the mainstream markets. Pei, you're working on onboarding and offboarding users from and out of the crypto world. So how do you open up to the non-crypto people?
I think I can take that one because I provide the most boring version of answer for the most part. So I think it is a real challenge. I think it's all great that sophisticated players and gamers can enjoy the new world of NFTs and on the existing platforms, but the non-gamers or the new gamers, novice players, also deserve a chance to kind of get on those platforms and have a chance to play with those assets. So one thing that we've been thinking a lot and spend a lot of investments and time into is to think about how we can help those gaming platforms to have an easy onboarding process. One example is how imagine in a world you can just swipe a card and then you have your digital identity created on multiple platforms, and then you can purchase NFTs and you can sell them freely, and then you go across all different platforms to just check them out. So I think that would be really ideal for pushing for mainstream adoption, which I think is meaningful. And the second being, I know that some of the gaming platforms have pretty high thresholds, so you might have to spend $300 to purchase some, like your company, ridiculous. But how can you enable consumers or gamers to have a chance to maybe take on a loan or maybe to stake their collateral that's in the form of DAI or Ether or dollars? How can they really, spend that money maybe in like different installments and different creative ways to pay, right? To pay and get on the platform, and then maybe there's if there's an upside on in the NFTs they purchase later on, then they can pay back the loan, they can fulfill the freedom of economy. So that's all the things that we think about. But also, I guess during that within the platform, the P2P transaction, and how can you intensify the engagement between the platform runners and the users to gamify things, to create incentives around those NFTs. I think it's super interesting. So that could, that's about economics. That's maybe about the design of the tokens. I think NFT is special and it should be seen as an investment for the large part because it's irreplaceable and it has a scarcity and a provenance that is really available in other common assets. So we think about that, and also once you're ready to get off the platform, right now there's no easy way to do it. So if you want to go from Neon District to Blockade or Block Cities, then I think you have to pretty much cash out, and then you create another account and you go on that platform and you start over again. So we're thinking if a payment solution that can sort of facilitate that smooth transition, or just open up the economy, open up the boundaries between platforms, that would be helpful for adoption.
Yeah, so we have like 4 minutes left, so I think we should talk about collaborations and like how to work between projects. There was one question from the audience that was directed at me. I'm just going to read it out. So how do you work out where to draw the line between on and off-chain data and transactions while maintaining a great gaming experience? What's the trade-off? Just to answer this real quick, so we know that, for example, Ethereum, it takes a bunch of time to do a transaction, so you can't really go on a quest, wait for a transaction, then get the reward. That's a really shitty user experience. And most players don't care about decentralization inside a game. So it's okay. So basically what we draw the line is on-chain is all the stuff that really matters also financially. So the game assets, characters, weapons, land in the game is on-chain. When you play, you import it into the game, and then basically everything in the game happens off-chain. So questing, PvP, all that stuff is off-chain. And this is how we think about it. I think there's most games designing that way. Happy to answer this question then later. So approach me, whoever asked that. So the last 3 minutes, we want to talk about how to get involved in the gaming ecosystem. Like, let's say you're a designer and working on NFTs. How can you work with a blockchain game? Or if you build a new blockchain game, how do you tap into someone else's blockchain game community and kind of give their NFTs utility in your game? So how does collaboration look like? How can we all leverage basically our communities and just make the whole pie bigger together? Maybe Margaret, you want to start?
That's a good plug for Josie's puzzle. That if you guys haven't heard about that, it just went live. It goes across multiple different communities and games, Axes, lots of games. Anyways, we're seeing community leaders come forward. And for example, Josie came to Blockade and was like, I have this idea. And we kind of rounded her out with this, I guess, the resources we had and we could provide. And she herself went out and made these different connections as well. Do not underestimate the power of like super passionate, driven community members because they're just like tomorrow's leaders.
So, sorry, the question was, how do people get started in development?
So just say, more of like, my crypto heroes want to work with Skyweaver. How do we help each other to grow in both communities, both ways? How do we collaborate?
Well, definitely standardization, right? I mean, a lot of people talk about interoperability and they think about really item portability between different games. I don't think that's what interoperability excites me. It's more just that we get standards and we get network effects through other people extending and building on top of systems and tooling and understanding that it's we're really at an infrastructure and protocol level with these systems. And smart contracts are not programs. These are protocol extensions. These are not things you should even be writing. They're highly sensitive security matters. I think it's like learning from the pioneers and then, as the brave teams that want to go out and, take spears to the head as the pioneers do, that's how we learn and we figure it out.
So you build a lot of open source infrastructure things, and let's say I'm a new game developer, I want to get started with NFT development. Can I come to you, Peter, and ask for your source code and build on top of things?
100%, man. GitHub.com/Arcadium.
All right.
Yeah.
Great. Preston, anything you want to say about communities, user acquisition? I mean, you did a partnership with Foam, for example, that was really successful.
Yeah, so we actually, in the early days, had a lot of help from Foam. They had a lot of passionate users who, if you don't know what Foam is, it's a mapping platform that allows anybody to stake Foam token to add points of interest to a shared map. It's basically a decentralized way to map the world. And so they wanted to find a way to incentivize users mapping, and they saw my buildings, and the buildings are replicas of real-world buildings, so we collaborated and we did a scavenger hunt. The first person who could guess this mystery building and put a point on the Foam map gets the NFT. So it was kind of a visual way for people to map the real world.
Okay, cool. We're out of time, so thank you guys. We'll be here all day at the venue, so find us if you want to learn more about blockchain gaming. Thank you. Woo. As a side note and some self-promotion, my crypto heroes will do a meetup tomorrow evening at the Foam office, so if you want to join that, let me know. There will be a free NFT. And as another announcement, Cointelegraph created their games section. If you want to stand up real quick and wave, Sergey. Check it out. Cointelegraph now has games. So games is a legitimate category in the blockchain space and NFTs. Thank you.